They made a group chat trashing me, so I joined it. I was sitting on my bed scrolling through my phone when a notification popped up from a group chat I had never seen before. When I tapped on it, I saw my name in messages going back months between the 4 girls I had eaten lunch with every single day since freshman year. Somebody had accidentally added me instead of a different contact, and nobody had noticed yet. So instead of confronting anyone or leaving the chat, I turned off my notifications and started reading from the very beginning because I needed to know how deep this went. I scrolled back to the oldest messages and found weeks of them picking apart everything about me: my clothes, my voice, the way I laughed too loud, the way I texted too much. They had a nickname for me that I am not going to repeat, and Talia was the one who came up with it. There was a thread where Talia ranked the girls in our grade by how annoying they were, and I was number 1 by a wide margin. The deeper I read, the worse it got, and by the time I caught up to the recent messages, I found something I could actually use because Talia had laid out a plan for our history presentation the next week. She told the group they were going to assign me the wrong section, so when our group got called up, I would present completely wrong information in front of the entire class, while they pretended to be embarrassed for me. She typed, "Her face is going to be so red I might actually record it," while the other girls sent heart emojis like she had just posted a cute photo of her dog. I read every message in that thread twice. Then I closed my phone, opened my laptop, and started researching every section of the presentation, including theirs. I stayed up until 3 in the morning building slides for all 4 parts, and rehearsing until I could deliver the entire thing without notes. When our group got called up the next day, I walked to the front of the room and started talking before anyone else could open their mouths. I covered Talia's section first, and she tried to cut in, but I kept going without even glancing in her direction. I moved through every remaining section back to back, while the 3 of them stood behind me with their hands at their sides and absolutely nothing to contribute. Our teacher stopped me halfway through to tell me I was doing an excellent job and asked if the rest of the group wanted to add anything. Talia opened her mouth and closed it again because I had already delivered everything better than she could have. We got full marks while the other 3 stood at the front of the room like mannequins waiting to be put back in storage. I sat down and checked the chat under my desk. Talia was typing in all capital letters, asking how I knew the right section. One of the other girls responded, "There's literally no way she just guessed. Someone definitely told her." And they started accusing each other of being the leak while the whole chat devolved into paragraphs of panicked texts. After class, Talia cornered me in the hallway and asked if someone told me the sections got changed. I looked her right in the eyes and said, "I just wanted to be extra prepared, so I studied everything." And for about 3 seconds, she stared at me like she was trying to read something written on the inside of my skull before she smiled and said, "Well, you totally saved us, good job," in this voice that was so fake it could have come with a barcode. I decided to keep going because watching Talia's face crumble during that presentation was the most satisfying thing I had experienced in months. The following week, I saw a thread where Talia told the group she was going to find my crush between classes and tell him I had been talking about him nonstop so he would think I was unhinged and avoid me. One of the other girls responded, "Honestly, this might be the thing that finally breaks her." I got to school early the next morning and found him at his locker before first period. I started a conversation about the assignment we had due, kept it casual, mentioned how slammed I had been lately, and how I barely had time to think about anything outside of school. He laughed and said he felt the same way. We talked for almost 10 minutes about school and music and this terrible substitute teacher we both had, and I could feel something real building between us before the bell cut it short. When Talia found him at lunch and started telling him I was obsessed with him, he looked genuinely confused. "That's weird because she literally just told me this morning she's been too busy to breathe," he said, and Talia had to backtrack and mumble something about exaggerating while he walked away from her mid-sentence. I watched that from across the cafeteria, eating my fries one by one, biting the inside of my cheek because Talia looked like someone had just canceled her birthday in front of everyone she invited. Then on Thursday night, I saw them planning a weekend hangout at a bowling alley and coordinating exactly how to make sure I wasn't included. Talia typed, "If she asks, just tell her it's a small thing and we already have too many people." I texted Noor from my math class and asked if she wanted to go bowling that Saturday at the exact same alley. She said yes immediately because we had been wanting to hang out outside of school for weeks. We showed up at the precise time the chat said they would be there, and I acted completely surprised when I spotted them 4 lanes down. "Oh, that's so funny. I had no idea you guys were coming here too," I called out while waving. Talia's face cycled through about 6 emotions in 2 seconds before she managed a tight smile and waved back. Noor and I bowled for 2 hours right next to them, and I laughed louder than I had laughed in months, while Talia kept glancing over every few minutes looking like she was trying to solve a math problem that refused to give her an answer. At one point, Noor rolled a strike and I screamed so loud that Talia's entire group turned to stare at us. The chat that night was a full-scale meltdown. Talia accused every girl of telling me where they would be. One of them fired back that maybe Talia was the problem because she keeps outsmarting us and you keep making the same stupid plans over and over. Another typed, "Honestly, this is getting embarrassing for US, not her." Then Talia sent a voice memo that was apparently 2 straight minutes of her screaming about how I was ruining everything, and nobody around her was loyal enough to figure out how I kept winning. The group was fracturing right in front of me, and all I had to do was keep reading. Then one night I opened my phone to check the chat, and it was gone. I refreshed the app, searched through every conversation, checked every folder, but there was nothing because they had finally removed me. I stared at the empty space where the notification used to live and felt my stomach drop. Now I was completely blind. I told myself it didn't matter because I still had Noor. But the next Monday at school, Noor was sitting at Talia's lunch table laughing at something one of the other girls said. She didn't even glance in my direction when I walked past. I sat at an empty table by the vending machines and ate my sandwich alone for the first time all semester, while I watched them from across the cafeteria. Talia said something, and Noor threw her head back laughing in a way she used to laugh with me, and I had to look down at my food because it felt like getting punched in a place I didn't know existed. I told myself that Noor had probably been cornered into sitting there, that there was an explanation I couldn't see yet. But by Wednesday, Noor was walking to class with them and whispering in Talia's ear between periods like they had known each other for years. By Thursday, she was sharing earbuds with one of the other girls in the hallway, and when I said, "Hey Noor," She gave me this half smile that didn't reach her eyes and said, hey, back without stopping. By Friday, she was posting pictures with all of them and tagging Talia with inside jokes I didn't understand, and every single photo felt like a door closing in my face. The version of me that had felt so confident 2 weeks earlier felt very small and very stupid sitting at that table picking at a granola bar I didn't even want. I spent the entire weekend in my room replaying every conversation I'd ever had with Noor, wondering if she had been real with me or if I had just been desperate enough to believe anyone who was nice to me. I almost texted her twice on Saturday night, and both times I typed the whole message out and deleted it because I couldn't handle the idea of her not responding. By Sunday, I had convinced myself that Noor was probably in the new chat right now, laughing at me just like the rest of them. The following Tuesday, Noor passed me in the hallway between second and third period without a word, without even turning her head, but I felt something land softly in my open backpack as she brushed past. When I got to the bathroom, I reached inside and found a folded piece of notebook paper that said, "Watch your locker," in Noor's handwriting and nothing else. I stared at those 3 words for a long time, standing in that bathroom stall with the door locked, and then smiled so hard my face hurt. The bell rang at the end of first period the next morning, and I could hear the noise before I even turned the corner. There was already a crowd packed into the hallway around what everyone believed was my locker. I pushed through, and the smell hit me before I could see inside, something chemical and rotten that burned my nose and made my eyes water. Everything inside the locker was drenched in brownish liquid poured over notebooks and folders and clothes, mixed with what smelled like a stink bomb cracked open and left to soak into every surface. People were covering their noses, some laughing nervously, others just staring, and a girl I barely knew looked at me with this pitying expression that made me want to disappear. I spotted Talia leaning against the far wall about 15 feet away with her arms crossed and this satisfied look on her face like she had been waiting all morning for this exact moment. She was watching me the way someone watches a movie they already know the ending to. Every person in that hallway was locked onto me. I looked at the dripping mess for a long moment. Then I turned, walked 3 doors down to the other locker, spun the combination, opened it, pulled out my own clean, untouched backpack, and slung it over my shoulder. I thought your locker's location was better, so I swapped with you yesterday. Hope your stuff is okay in that locker. I heard those stink bombs are impossible to get out completely, I said to Talia without raising my voice. Her whole face changed so fast it was like watching someone get the wind knocked out of them. She shoved past 3 people and looked inside the trashed locker. She pulled out her own jacket dripping with that brown liquid and held it at arm's length. Then she pulled out a soaked textbook, then a folder full of ruined notes. Her yearbook photos were curling at the edges. Her notebooks were swollen and warped beyond saving. She just kept pulling things out one after another, and every single item was hers. The hallway went dead quiet for about 2 seconds, and then the laughter started from somewhere behind me and spread through the crowd until it filled the entire corridor. She spun around looking for a single friendly face, but every person she made eye contact with was either laughing or holding up a phone. Not one of them moved to help her. You are actually insane. Do you understand that? You are a genuinely unhinged person, and everyone in this school is going to find out exactly what you did, she said with her voice cracking on the last word. What I did was switch lockers. What you did is the part everyone just watched you pull out of there with your own hands, I said. The laughter got louder. Someone behind me yelled, "Oh my God!" and that set off another wave. She looked around one last time for any kind of lifeline, and that's when she saw Noor leaning against the wall right next to me with her arms crossed in the exact same pose Talia had been holding 30 seconds earlier. Talia looked at Noor, then at me, then back at Noor. Her face just fell apart as she realized that every move she made after removing me from the chat had gone straight back to the one person she never should have let in. Noor walked up to me after the crowd cleared. "You're welcome," she said. "You're terrifying," I said, and we went to get lunch.